Welcome to the July 30th, 2021 Planning Board meeting for the town of Raymond. This is an emergency meeting. The board does have a quorum, and for the audio, we could do a roll call, please, starting with Kyle.
Al Bancroft. Kevin Woodbury.
Ed Kranich.
Greg Foster.
The board does have a quorum. So our proceedings today, our agenda item today is simply to determine how we want to conduct meetings going forward in view of the state's new guidance. I appreciate all you guys making time in the middle of a Friday, and I'm sorry for the short fuse notice. I got a little bit behind the issue because I was out of town. But so what we need to just either adopt, I know that you've all seen the proposed procedures that Sue's put out for us actually about almost 3 weeks ago, based upon the state's requirements. And then we have some options concerning how we want to conduct the physical meetings. What has gone away is the hybrid meeting, unless there's some specific requirements or conditions that are met, and those were addressed in Sue's addendum or attachment that we can choose to adopt. And then we can also then set additional requirements going forward concerning the restrictions for the actual conduct of the meeting. So with that, I think that Sue and I have talked, and Sue, jump in if I'm misstating this, that it's probably best to move forward with adopting the requirements that Sue has put out in that addendum, and then looking at whether or not we want to have specific mask and requirements, anything that goes along with those mask requirements, or a request for a venue change, and whether or not that's even possible, Kevin, to do as far as the recording goes, and then go from there. Anybody have any questions? So I guess the easiest thing to do would be to first open the discussion on whether or not we're comfortable with with what Sue put out as far as the conduct of the meetings going forward, the non-hybrid meetings, or how somebody could indeed participate remotely if certain conditions were met. Is anybody not happy with that?
May I make a statement, Mr. Chair?
Yeah, certainly, Sue.
I didn't come up with the policy. That is something that MMA put out as their recommendation for wording for this, trying to jump in and make the emergency measure that the legislature adopted have a form, or have some way for people to adopt a policy. So that's the origin of this, is MMA. I just modified it to say Raymond on it.
Thanks, Sue. Does anyone have any comments, concerns, or questions on that? Everybody feel comfortable adopting it, or not, or you don't want to adopt it?
I don't think we have much choice. It follows exactly what the legislature put out, so it's pretty straightforward.
Well, we don't have to adopt it. We can just have it'd be silly not to, in my opinion, but
yeah.
So we all okay with that? So so I would then, Ed?
Could you quickly summarize that, from the MMA? It's basically that we need to return to in-person meetings, and unless someone has a special situation where they have to do remote, but primarily the meetings will be in person.
Correct. Sue, do you want to add anything to that? Expand.
That really sums it up. It is very specific, though. You have to be outside of the what's practicable to get back to the meeting. How far away that is up to interpretation, or you have to be ill. Or the way MMA interpreted it is if you had a doctor's note that said that you were more susceptible than others to COVID or whatever, then that would be permissible. But the other piece of this is it's so new, there has been no legislation, I mean, no litigation. So there's no casework to look back on to see what judges have said of it now that it's in law.
Can we require the public and, everyone actually at the meeting to wear a mask? I think
Yeah,
that's not a concern.
You can, but that's kind of a separate piece.
That's our next-
This is
that's our next
talking about
discussion.
whether you want to have the remote.
Okay.
Any other questions on the MMA guidance there that Sue's put out? Okay, then I would just move that we accept the proposed MMA guidance as modified by Sue for the town of Raymond for the conducting the planning board meetings for the town of Raymond. Is there a second?
Yeah, second.
Ed seconds. Any discussion? Greg, you okay?
I'm okay, yes.
Okay, you're frozen. I just want to make sure you're still with us. Okay, all those.
Yeah, it's cold.
I'm sorry?
I said it's pretty cold where I am.
Oh. All right.
Yeah, I get internet issues here, so.
Okay, as long as we've got your audio, that's fine.
Yeah.
All right, then, we have votes. Start with you, Kyle, please. It has to be by voice.
Yep.
Kyle votes yes. Ed?
Yes.
Ed's voting yes. Greg?
Yes.
And Kevin?
Yes.
Okay, so that's officially adopted, and that will be going forward. That will conduct our meetings. Okay, so now the next, and I guess really more important questions going forward is how we're going to conduct those meetings in person. And that addresses, Ed, what you were talking about was whether or not we're going to require masks. I would say that probably there's a series, right? We would go with no masks, or we would go with masks, or we would go with requesting a venue change to allow for social distancing. That would be, that was kind of the three things that I was thinking of as far as steps go. I certainly would like to listen to your views on what you're thinking is appropriate going forward.
I can address the venue change, and that's really no way, because we don't have high-speed fiber connection, so we can't really broadcast from other locations other than the gym, which is not practical either. Because it takes a long setup time to move stuff over there and prepare for a meeting. It takes 4 or 5 hours usually.
Okay, so that takes that takes care of that one. So now how are we going to what will we do going forward? And I guess the first question would be then masks. Do we want to require all participants to wear a mask, vaccinated or unvaccinated?
Yeah, I would be in favor of that. I think it's a minor inconvenience. I don't see why anyone should have too big of a problem with that.
Yeah. Greg?
I'd be opposed to that. I think people know what to do at this point, and we should just leave it up to them if they come to the meeting to social distance or wear a mask.
There's a lot of dumbasses out there in the world, though, so you can't really rely on them. If you look at the statistics of the current cases of the epidemic, it demonstrates that.
Well, the problem is there's no social distancing in the portable.
It's possible.
It's not possible. There is no filtering of the air at that, at the micron, 3 micron, 1 micron level. There's very little outside air makeup into that. So you're just sitting in a stew that keeps, the longer you sit there, if somebody has COVID and it's coming out, your parts per million are going to increase to the point where it's really dangerous. So, the venue is terrible.
And I think also there's growing evidence that even if you're vaccinated and you do contract the Delta, you can still spread it. So, and the masks are good for only work if everybody is wearing them, especially the person that's sick. At least that's my understanding.
Right, and they also have to be an N95 mask to be that effective.
Right.
Even a 2-layer cloth mask is only good for coughing. Just regular breathing, the fine aerosol mist goes right through those.
Kyle, what are your thoughts?
You know, I'm gonna probably oppose the masks. I think that we're at a point, in my opinion, that we've gone through it. I think we've seen the complications of trying to get people to follow that, and I think that we just need to, from my opinion, try to get back to normal, the way we do business. At some point, we're going to have to realize that this is what it is. So I'm going to be opposed to, you know, having people wear masks in there, and that's my personal opinion on it. And across the board, I think it just needs to come down to personal opinion. If you feel you need to wear a mask, whether you're on the board or you're participating, then I think everybody has the right to do that. And I don't think anybody's looking at anybody any different, but to require people continuously this far into it, I'm going to be opposed to that.
Okay. Probably the same topic. I don't think that probably we're going to change anybody's mind along those lines.
Well, and I think, you know, I don't think it's going to make any difference anyway, because people will not wear N95 good fitting masks where it would really make a difference. You know, masks are great, like I said, for coughing, but not just normal breathing, unless you have an N95 well-fit mask.
Yeah, but I agree that the N95 is the ultimate, but I think that the research at least does show that even the double cloth masks work.
Yeah, I agree with you, Bob. I think you're right.
Okay, so do we want to beat it around the bush a little more? I think that I would say that right now it's looking 3-2. Or anybody else want to weigh in? I as you probably gathered, I am more on the mass side as well. My concern is that, you know, I have the vaccine, but my concern is that even I can in fact become infected and drag it home to my grandkids that are not vaccinated, that do not have the vaccine, and that's my concern. I'm sure that Kevin shares that same concern with his kids, and I'm guessing Ed. I'm not sure your family situation, but
Yeah, grandkids.
yeah, exactly. So I would move that we adopt a policy that all those present at the meetings wear a face mask.
Second the motion.
Is there, and then I guess we'll go through. Kyle, you want to take the vote, first vote?
Yeah, I'm going to say no.
Yep. Ged?
Yes.
Ed, Greg?
No,
And Kevin?
Yes.
And I go yes, so 3-2, so the motion passed. So we will require a mask. Now, my other concern on the mask requirement is, and I think kind of, Kevin, where'd you go?
I'm here.
Okay, your picture left.
Greg dropped out. I don't see Greg anymore.
Yeah, I don't see Greg, I don't see Kevin. Oh, there you are, Kevin, I see you now. You just moved. Okay, I got you. Greg just, my other question is that, and I think that I talked to this issue, is that I don't want to be in the position, and I don't think anybody on the board wants to be in the bouncer position of ensuring that masks are worn. Sue and I have talked to Don about that, and he's willing to ensure that a deputy is present for those meetings that the public is really expected at, those public meetings. And so I would, unless there's objections, I would kind of like to put that forward as a requirement during our public hearings, that we have a deputy in the enforcement role, so that that does not fall into the board, and also that it does not impact the board's work, because I can see that as a means of kind of stopping the meetings and getting what you want if you don't want a project to go through. Does that sound acceptable to everybody?
Yes. Yeah, I'll second that as a motion.
Okay. Kevin, is that all right with you?
It's awful heavy-handed, but it's sad. It's really sad that people can't follow even if you set the rules and they don't agree with it, they can't follow the rules that you've set up for your meetings. So it's, I have a hard time with having somebody there to try to enforce it, especially, you know, the law. It's just,
Well, how would you propose handling somebody that would not want to wear a mask?
well, personally, I would say if you're gonna come in here and do that, we'd stop the meeting and have it some other time.
Right, and that's exactly.
I'd rather do that than have somebody there to try to enforce it.
Okay, and that's exactly what I would think that what would have to happen and what I would wind up doing. And the problem is that the applicant then loses a month or a number of time that.
Well, that puts the pressure back on the public for doing something that, it's not our fault.
Well, yeah, but Kevin, if you are opposed to a project and you show up without a mask and refuse to wear a mask and we have to suspend the meeting, then they get exactly what they want without having to do anything, and we don't get and the applicant suffers the process.
Well, then they could take that up in a court of law to say, you know, this person did this and caused me to have this. I just think it's really heavy-handed for the town to try to enforce that.
Okay, Kyle?
I agree. I think that, you know, I'm not sure exactly what the deputy could do at that. I mean, say that somebody comes in, they're not wearing a mask. I mean, back when there was an emergency declaration, they had a little bite, they could do something. But at this stage in the game, is it going to be a trespassing thing? I mean, what's the bite to it? Or just ask them to leave? Either way, I think I'm going to agree with Kevin. I think that having a deputy there is really heavy-handed for this issue.
Okay.
I'd probably be opposed to that.
Okay. Greg, are you still with us? No, Greg left. All right. Venue change is not an option. So in which case social distancing is not an option. So I guess what we've come down to is we've adopted the MMA guidance. We're going to require all to wear a mask, and if those show up and refuse to wear a mask, we'll just suspend the meeting. Is that? Here comes Greg. I'm sure Greg will follow. Greg, are you back with us? Greg, are you with us again?
Yes,
All right,
something went wrong. Sorry about that.
that's okay. I think I could probably vote for you. But so the question is, we've decided that we're going to wear masks. Do we need a deputy present to enforce that, or will we just suspend the meeting if someone chooses not to wear a mask? Thoughts? Or do you want to be bouncer?
Well, I can start taking steroids.
What do you think?
Who could potentially be the person to enforce it?
Sheriff deputy.
It would have to be a sheriff's deputy.
Yes.
I would.
I'm sorry.
I would think try not doing that, and if we have an issue, maybe invite the sheriff at another meeting. Or it seems to me people will probably comply, but
Yeah, if there's someone that's not complying, we could, you know, really put them on the spot, I think, and just say, hey,
yeah,
hold up the meeting, we're not going to proceed. You sure you want to do this? Put on a mask, and hopefully,
Okay.
you know, it would be rare that someone would be that disagreeable, they wouldn't follow on. Maybe it's best not to have the deputy to start off with. I mean,
Just see how it goes.
yeah.
All right, is there anything else that we need to address? I don't want to drag this on too much longer. I appreciate all you guys taking time in the middle of your day.
So
Sue, is there anything that we need to cover that I didn't?
Well, I was going to ask if you would like me to write up a policy and put a few statute references in there that gives you the authority to do that. And I'll have the policy out by the back door for signature, if that's okay. Or mask wearing.
That sounds perfect.
And we should also get a sign printed up, informational that to put on the door. People enter.
Yes, I've already got some pictures, unless Kevin would like to play, or someone else would like to, but I can make one that says no sign, no admittance without a mask.
Right.
You will need to put that up for your meetings, because the select board don't require that. And each committee is able to get their own, or set their own. Sorry, I'm hearing so much in my ears that it's hard to think. But each committee can decide this on their own, so you will be different. I believe the selectmen are still going to go with, if you're not vaccinated, please wear a mask, which is what we have up there now.
So Sandy, if you could just ensure our future notices that go out in the paper that state that masks are required for the meetings, that would be good. Are you there, Sandy?
I am.
Okay, excellent.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, so the other thing, and the last thing, I guess, on one of us is, Kevin, I know this does not meet what your
We can chat with him.
No, so I would, if, you know, I can resign, I can send my resignation now, so you can find another person as soon as possible if you want. I think that, or I could miss the next meeting and see what the legislature does for, if they may change their mind.
That's what I would, that would be my preference, Kevin, because, I mean, you are, according to our bylaws, you actually can miss 3 meetings before, you know, you get a knock on the door and you have to state your intentions. There certainly is nobody, you know, we certainly don't have a long list of applicants knocking at the door that we need to join. So I would like, personally, I would like you to stay on the board. I know that you will miss the next meeting.
Okay.
And see if
So
anything else
let's
changes
talk to him today to see what
with
he
the state.
And it's just, I'm amazed that, like we had talked before, that in this day and age, that the legislature wouldn't allow hybrid, irrelevant of any pandemic. It just makes sense now to give more access to meetings versus less.
Yep.
It opens it up for people that can't make meetings, and people that want to go can go. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me, but that's politics.
Doesn't to me either, Kevin.
So anyway, I guess just for the rest of the board knows, what I'm asking, Kevin would not like to be present for any meeting due to lots of other reasons. But I would prefer that he stay on the member. We will acknowledge that he's not going to be either the next meeting or the meeting after. Is anybody like opposed to that?
Absolutely not.
No.
I think you got the unanimous wishes of the board.
Well, I hope, I mean, I really enjoy doing this, and, you know, to me, it's a civic duty, and I just hope that the legislature can come around.
Yep. Okay, so if there's nothing else, I'm going to wish everybody a happy Friday. Any other concerns or interests? Once again, thank you very much. I move that we close the July 30th meeting of the planning board.
Second.
There's been a second, and all those in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
Aye, everybody says
Aye.
unanimous. Thanks again, guys. Appreciate it. Have a great weekend.
Have a good day, guys.
You too.